Alright, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the topic order blocks. Order blocks are essentially points of interest. You will have to treat that is order blocks. We treat them as points of interest. So if you are calling it order blocks like OB for short, or you are calling it point of interest POI, you are still saying the same thing. And in the next couple of minutes, we're going to certainly see exactly what an order blocks is. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Now, look at this particular chart. You discover that, like I keep telling you from past lectures, I've actually told you that when you open up your chart, the first place you want to look at is to look at the left. What has actually been happening, you know, from the left hand side. And if you look at the left hand side of this chart, you see a couple of small candles, not really that small, but of course they are actually small candles compared to this large candle. All right. Now, anytime you see this kind of big candles, okay, anytime you see anytime you see this kind of big candles, what is actually telling you that there are institutions that are around that particular place. Whatever it is that motivated them, you know, to place this order. It could actually be a news. It can actually be, some government policies. It could actually be something that's actually happening around the world or something. There's something that's actually motivated them to really place this order. Now, what we call an order block is that what is that candle? Sorry for that. What is that candle? That the last candle before that big move. The last candle before that big move. That is your order block. The last small candle, the last small candle, or the last opposing candle. Opposing candle, okay, for example, this blue candle is actually a bullish candle, right? Is a bullish candlestick before this big bearish candle. Okay, now this particular candle, this small, relatively small candle, small bullish candle, is your order block because that was actually the last price where the market was at before institutions stepped in. Institutions stepped in at that particular point, and because they actually stepped in at that particular point, when price eventually comes back to that area, there will be other banks, other hedge funds, other institutions who will be willing to also sell, to also place orders at that particular place. Are you following this? Because some institutions actually saw this particular place to be a very good place to actually make their supply from, to actually sell from, okay? And they made a very huge. When you see this kind of candles, it takes a whole lot of millions and several millions to really make this kind of a move in the market. It takes several millions, and it simply just shows that there are institutions around that particular place. Okay, all right. Now, when you see that, you simply just mark out that particular candle, and when price what came back to that place, what happened next? The price simply just went back down again. Now we're going to be discussing a couple of other things. Okay. Now, the beginning of the big move becomes a very interesting price to sell from, like I told you the other time, because there are some limit orders left in that price. Other banks and other financial institutions will sell from the same zone, from the market pullbacks. When the market pulls back to test the zone. So because they know that there are other financial institutions that will sell from the same zone, and this is the easiest way to make money without being in a conflict. It's actually the easiest way to make money without being in a conflict. All right. Now, let's look at this again. Look at look at this from the left hand side. You see a couple of small bodied candlesticks, and from the understanding of our candlesticks, you know that when you have small bodied candlesticks like this, it means that there is a low volume being pushed into the market around that particular time. Now, when you see these big candles, when you see this kind of big candles, what does that tell you? It shows that institutions simply just stepped into the market around that particular place. Now, what is going to be your point of interest? What is going to be your order block? It is that the last the last small candle before the big move happened. The last candle before the big move happened. That is your point of interest. That is your order block. You can also call it a basin candle. Okay, it's your basin candle, it's your order block, it's your point of interest. So what are you going to do? You simply just what? You simply just mark out that particular place. Okay, all right. So that is why this doji candle before this big move was what was marked out. So what is going to happen is that we simply going to mark out this particular zone, and we are going to wait for price to approach that particular place, because we know that other institutions will find that particular place, that particular price as a point, as an interesting place to also place their demand. That is to also buy from. When we are talking about the demand zone, we are talking about a zone to buy from. When we are talking about supply zone, you are talking about a zone to sell from. Okay, I'm going to say that again. When you're talking about a demand zone, you are talking about a zone to buy from. When you're talking about a supply zone, you are talking about a zone to what? To sell from. All right, so let's quickly move on. All right. Now, look at what happened when price touched into that particular order block or our point of interest. Price pulled into that area. What happened next? Price simply just what? Went back up immediately. You understand? It is just because when this move happened, there are some other institutions who found that place to be an interesting place to buy from immediately. So what do? They simply just put their limit orders, buy limit orders in that particular place. So once the price came into that place, they simply just activated their buying. I mean, they're buying they're buying orders, and immediately the price simply just what went up there. Now you can see bank buy limit orders were actually in that particular place. So when price came into that place, it got filled and price simply just got rejected. Looking at that week, when you see week like this, it's simply just telling you that the price was actually was rejected in that place before it's actually what it began to move to the upside. So let's quickly move on. All right. So when we are talking about demand, okay, when you're talking about demand, we can actually identify demand in different ways. Okay, in different ways. So that is going to actually be what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of classes. All right, so I'm going to see you in the next one.